That's what we want. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened for us.
In the last 5 years.
Because X not going to be
In the last 5 years, the 10 transfer windows we've had in the last 5 years, if you break down what we've spent across the last 5 years, 26.25 million on windows. Now, think about where Arsenal was 10 years back, going downhill. How is 26.2 million for a window going to fix that? Outside looking in, when 70 million is spent on Pepe, it looks like they spent, but then you hear installments. You hear Zaha was a Paris lad, and you got Zaha.
The thing with this installments thing, that was just something that I don't know, well, in my opinion, unscrupulous journalists invented just to make Arsenal look bad. Look, all football transfers, all clubs pay in installments. I'll give an example. What was the biggest transfer of last season? I think let's say Timo Werner, for example. I think he cost 80 million, was it? Something like that. Now, Chelsea would not have paid. Who did he play for? I think it's RB Leipzig, 80 million, just like that. Why? Chelsea's cash balance must be around, I'll say, between 100 to 200 million pounds. Chelsea could do that in theory, but that would put them in a severely weaker financial position. So because clubs do not have, no company has unlimited cash, but because clubs do not have cash in that readiness, they have to pay in installments. So X amount per year or per season. Sometimes, say for example, a big club signs a player from a smaller club. They may have to pay probably part of the deal is that, all right, cool. If the club sells him on to another bigger club, or the club at your club, the player we're going to sell to you wins a Champions League, a Premier League, wins a Ballon d'Or, you have to pay us 5 million, 10 million pounds or euros. That often happens for smaller clubs. I can't guarantee, obviously I'm not privy to, but I'd imagine something similar might be in place with, say, Mulder with Borussia Dortmund. But this happens as an example, so as part of the yearly installments. So this thing with installments, and you say Palace, I don't know what the fuck Palace was smoking. Like, if they wanted, for me, Zaha's overrated. But to say you want the money down 100% for Zaha, no. I'm 70 million? No. I still would have taken Pepe, even though Pepe has not excelled. I think the price tag does skew perceptions, granted.
They look to us like they've spent and they've done something, be excited with the same need. In reality, they've done something that wasn't plan A. They've gone with plan B, not because they can't do plan A, but because plan B benefits their pockets more in terms of installment base over the next 4 or 5 years. That's not care. And one more thing, Stormy. You don't have to care too much as an owner, but put people in the place that do care, that have the experience. Like
100%. The thing is, KSE, to be fair to them, have put people in experience, but they've had a lot of bad hires. Gazidis had experience. Raul Sanieli had experience. Mislintat. Edu, no. But I would argue that in any business, if you hire people who are executives, who have high level control and authority at your football club, who ultimately don't work out, that is on you. That's on you as the owner. Because you should choose people. They've hired Richard Garlick, and he does have experience, to be fair, so we'll see how well he does in the coming months and years. On paper it seems a good fit, but who knows? We'll see how things go on from that regard. But Turkish is correct. A lot of bad executive hires. And yes, no one is perfect, but if you make continually, then something is wrong there.
If I look below Conte, I see Vinna. No experience with the role he has.
And this is where I absolutely
no
agree.
experience with the role he has. But one second, FSG, they don't care. but they put the right people in the right place.
Okay, so
Brands.
I'm going to concentrate on the bit where I agree. And it was the first question that I was asked is what would we do differently? And what I said was who we didn't replace 2007 David Dean.
I agree 100% with him. We need some Dave. The strengths of David Dean were that he's an Arsenal fan. He knows business. He was a good negotiator, and he had the best interest of the club at heart. And we need someone of that ilk 100%.
Never replaced him. I'd love to get David Dean back now. I think what we need is a commercial director, someone that could come in and turn it around like that. Because I'm not saying
When did you
saying
realize we needed that?
probably around 2015. 2014, 2015, that we need someone to come in and replace David Dean. Rather than, of course we need the players.
I agree with him broadly. Yeah, that's around 2014-15 is when I realised Arsene Wenger was done. And I'm not just saying that after the effect. I genuinely did think that because I just thought that he was not tactically at the level and he had to go because I did not think he was going to change, and he did not change. However, I think around that time I did start to realise that the structure of the club and the culture of the club was not fitting, because that was during the top four of the trophy era. Yes, you can say Wenger probably said that I don't think Wenger literally meant as a trophy, but I think he meant the first. I think he said the actual quote is the first trophy is the top four. And you have to admit, not just Arsenal, but United, City, Liverpool, even Tottenham, Chelsea, Leicester, everyone wants to be in the Champions League. So he had a point when he said that. But again, I think it's around that time, I think, let's say from around 2012, 2013, 2014, is where I think a lot more discontent towards not just Wenger, but the owners came to light because the club was not challenging. Because I think around, say, 2006 to, let's say, 2011, 2012, 2013, I think the stadium move, people realized, all right, cool, you have to be patient. You need to have, you need to give more kudos in that regard. But until then, say around 2013, 14, I think that's when things start to really intensify.
We need to have magic. My criticism, we need more flowers, more touch, more cronky in, cronky out. I just look at what they are. They're not sugar daddies, and I respect the fact they're not.
100%. I think the same way. They're not going to be sugar daddies. They never have been, never will be. A lot of us look enviously to Chelsea, look enviously to City, which is understandable, but I think it's a pretty shallow perception, if that makes sense, because not all billionaire owners are sugar daddies. Mike Ashley at Newcastle, the FSG are not really, not to the Glazers are not at United. Daniel Lewis and Levy at Tottenham aren't. As I said, Gold, Sullivan, and Baroness Brady aren't at West Ham. Who else is there? And they're just a handful. I think practically every Premier League club is owned by a billionaire. Is the Aston Villa owner a billionaire? No. Is sorry, what am I saying? A sugar daddy? Not really. Is a Leeds owner a sugar daddy? Not really. Are the King Power family sugar daddies? Yes, they've invested a lot into Leicester, but I won't say they splash the cash to any high degree. Again, I think I agree 100% what you said. It's a simplistic analysis, but for me, the issue which both Turkish and Julian are touching on is ambition, is culture, is drive.
What I would look for is someone to come in with a bit of commercial nous and turn us around, and that is the key. Because what they can't do, let's look at the criticism of them, as far as I'm concerned, they are not managing this club correctly. That is my criticism.
100%. Oversight, strategy, 100%.
Yes, I agree. But what I don't agree with is that they don't care. I just think they're incapable of managing the team.
If they can, like the other owners, they could have
Thing is, they say they don't care. They don't care to challenge. They do care, but not to the degree that we want and we expect.
learned how to manipulate the market, even if it's not fair. You know, at the end of the day, you're right. Man United used to win leagues because they had the most money, but like at the end of the day, we've got to work to what is going on. Diving used to be looked down upon in the Premier League, but now it's part of the game.
So one thing, they did find a way to manipulate things in our favour, and the fans went berserk, and that was the European Super League.
Did you love Wenger, did it?
That's a fair point. You know, I think a club of our global brand had to be a part, so you can't dig out the Cronkies for that. I don't blame them for that specifically. I just think if the train is going and if you miss the train, it will cost you, then you have to jump on board the train before the whistle blows and it departs. It's as simple as that.
Reminds me of my wife. For the first half of the relationship, yes, I did.
And the second half,
And the second half went gradually, and it was gradually downhill, and at the end, like my wife, it was an absolute nightmare.
yeah, but you know what? And just like using that analogy in a sense,
If I can say one thing in Ben's defence, you know, she's never got to the level of the Invincibles.
using that analogy, the second half,
Yeah.
she might have been manipulated by her dad, your stepdad at the time.
Yeah.
Stepdad, I mean,
Yeah, she was manipulated.
like
Absolutely.
Wenger was manipulated by Kroenke.
There is a lot of links between my ex-wife and Arsene Wenger.
I guess we've got to leave that road. I don't know what to say from that.
Now that was a very good debate because they did agree on a lot of stuff, and 100% is the stewardship and the analogy at the end was very good, where Julian talks about his ex-wife and shit. But it's true, he was manipulated by Kroenke. He was, you know, everything that is wrong with Arsenal and any business comes to the owner. And he was also right because I've said the same thing. I believe the same thing. We don't need a sugar daddy. That's a simplistic way to look at it. We just need somebody with the right ambition. Okay, let's put it this way. Part of the reason we had the success we did under George Graham and Arsene Wenger when he was good was David Dean, was the late Peter Hillwood, was people like the late Danny Fitzman, even Ken Fry when he was more active. I know he's still around at the club, but it's more of an honorary ceremonial role now, not a day's hand to hand. When we had people who generally cared about the welfare of the football club and were able to develop a culture of winning, a culture of, you know, a culture of progression, a culture of competition. Because look at it this way. Let's put it this way. The thing with what's his name? What's his name? When George Graham started to lose it a bit in the latter years. Funny enough, a bit like Arsene Wenger. But the club was able to sign Dennis Bergkamp. The club who, you know, and then Bergkamp really was pivotal to the successes under Wenger because he had the right manager under Wenger. So in that regard, even when the club had faced a dip, they still were able to turn things around, and they turned it around and how. Can the Cronkies? Remains to be seen, but thus far we've not seen enough. So I think I've discussed enough for now. As I say, it was an excellent debate from Turkish and what's his name, Julian. But yeah, thanks a lot for listening.